Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and it looks like we might be able to breathe a sigh of relief when it comes to the pre-orders for the Switch 2. Now, at the time of me filming this, I have not heard anything definitive from Nintendo with regards to a pre-order date for the Switch 2, but based on some of the recent announcements regarding tariffs, it looks like there may be some hope. And this is kind of something that I referred to in one of my last videos, when I mentioned that, the tariff situation could go either way. Either they could enforce these tariffs and they have significant impacts on just consumers in terms of the bottom line that they have to pay for goods and services, or we could start to see, um, you know, different countries acquiesce to the negotiation tactics being employed by our government. And so I think that what we're seeing now is a little bit of that giving in to some of the negotiation requests being made. So ultimately, this is good news for us. It's definitely good news for the stock market. For those of you who pay attention to the stock market, you'll know that when these tariffs were announced, it had a major impact on the stock market negatively. But now we're seeing somewhat of a rebound, right? And so it's just the nature and the name of the game when it comes to these types of negotiations at governmental levels. But as it relates to the Switch and the Switch 2, I think, again, this is good news for those who are interested in purchasing a Switch 2. I still don't think that this solves the overarching issue that a lot of people had with the price of the Switch 2. I think people still weren't too happy about what the overall cost for the Switch 2 is going to be, with regards to the cost of the console, and more importantly, with regards to the cost of the games. And I was watching Spawn Wave briefly. I don't watch him too much, but one of his videos caught my eye, and he pretty much reported on one of the executives at Nintendo USA, basically just hinting to customers who have an issue with the pricing of the Switch 2. He basically just hinted that if they can't afford the Switch 2, that they should go back and pick up the original Switch model, either the original Switch or perhaps the Switch OLED, which come in somewhere between 300 and $350, if that $450 price tag is too high. Now, me personally, I know of a lot of people who are going to wait. They're going to sit back and they're going to wait to see what happens with the Switch 2. They're probably not going to pre-order this thing. They're going to wait and see, what happens. They're going to wait for the release. A lot of people will probably wait and see if they can get one in their hands and actually experience it in their hands in some type of demo fashion, whether that means going to GameStop, if GameStop has one on display, and seeing what it looks like there. I think a lot of people are going to hang back and wait before they dive in and purchase the Switch 2. My only thing is that it doesn't seem like waiting really makes a difference when it comes to Nintendo. It just really doesn't, because Nintendo, at least from what I've seen, they're not known for lowering their prices. If it's a Nintendo console, if it's a Nintendo branded game, you are going to be paying full price for that game to the end of time. And we see it with a lot of Switch 1 games. When you think about Mario Party 8, not Mario Party, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you think about games like Mario Odyssey, you think about all of the Nintendo branded games. Those games do not go down in price. If you're lucky, you might be able to get 10, 15, max 20% off during like a Christmas holiday sale. But for the most part, those games stay at their standard retail price for a really, really long time. And I think you're going to see the same thing happen with the original Switch and the OLED Switch. I can't see an OLED Switch selling for, anything under $300 for a while, right? It's going to be a while. You'll probably see that occur with the standard Switch, or maybe the Switch. I think the Switch Lite is already under $300, but you'll probably see that with the original Switch first if it's not under $300 already. Um, but I think Nintendo's main goal at this point is to just draw consumers into their ecosystem, into their universe of characters and IPs. And I think, they're going to just kind of look at it like, well, for those who can't afford the Switch 2, they can still get a Switch. And this is why you're probably going to continue to see the life cycle of the original Switch. There's going to be some more of a runway for it. We probably won't see the sunset on games being manufactured for the original Switch for some time, especially by third-party developers. But I think again the general sentiment with just consumers, and this is me just speaking from a consumer standpoint. I mean, if you have a child who is 10 years old and you get them an OLED Switch for Christmas and they didn't have any type of Switch console before, they're going to give you a big hug and a kiss and say thank you, thank you, thank you. To a lot of kids, unless they're like really up on this technology and stuff like that, I don't think they're going to be super hype for, it's not going to make much of a difference in excitement between like a child, like a 10-year-old or so. Again, unless they're super tech savvy and things like that. Um, Children, I mean, parents spending $500, because you got to keep in mind taxes and stuff like that, right? So, after taxes, you're spending $550, $600 on just the console and one game. If you want to get two more games, I mean, you're talking about spending $700 plus just to get the console and a few games. And I just don't know how feasible that is in this economy. And so I can just see a lot of people still running with their OLED Switch, picking up a few standard Switch games, and kind of going that route until all of the dust with, the Switch 2 kind of settles and there's a lot of availability. Because, I mean, look, just because there are pre-orders and stuff like that being made available, we may not see mass availability for this console for some time. We don't know, right? We could have a PS5 situation where it's super limited. Scalpers are definitely going to be at play when it comes to this console. I'm sure. I mean, it's already being scalped. I think if you go on eBay right now, you probably see scalpers with postings for the console at crazy prices. So it's just a very weird and particular time. But like I said, we may be able to breathe a sigh of relief when it comes to those pre-orders, just based off of some of what we're hearing coming out of um, our current administration. So let me know what you think down in the comments with all of the hype and all of the commotion surrounding the Switch 2. Are you looking forward to this pre-order? Are you ordering it right away? Are you going to kind of lean back and wait for the dust to settle? Are you going to continue rocking out with your Switch, your current Switch now for a few years before diving into the Switch 2 ecosystem? Or are you just really eager to move on to that next generation? Let me know what you think down in the comments, and I will catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.